Very good afternoon to all, brothers and sisters in the Dhamma. Today is the 26th November 2023. So we'll be continuing our sharing from this book. What is the difference between awareness and consciousness? This is the book based on the direct transcript from the recording of the Dhamma talk conducted by me in the year 2019, 11 July 2019. So it's almost 4+ years ago. And it's a very good book. I think we have started here at page 18, the last paragraph. And afterwards, we will continue our sharing from there. So as usual, we will do the Puja chanting. Let us compose our mind, develop the faith, Saddha, Virya. Then mindfully, we shall commence the Puja chanting. Namo 本师释迦牟尼佛。Namo 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 观世音菩萨。Namo 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 阿弥陀佛。Namo 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 弥勒佛。Namo 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 普贤菩萨。Namo 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 地藏王菩萨。Namo 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 佛菩萨。Namo 佛菩萨。Namo 佛菩萨。阿拉汉萨玛萨布多巴嘎瓦。Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi. Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami. Supatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami. Panatipata Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami. Adina dana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Kamesu miccācara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Musawada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Sura meraya majapamadatana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, As be respect Triple Chant. Pedang Puja. Dhammang Puja. Sanghang Puja. And let us also rejoice in the Puja offering. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. We shall now turn to page 6 of the chanting book. We will do the invocation to the Devas. Invocation to the Devas. In this universe, in their entirety, let the deities of Devas come here. Let them hear the good teachings of the King of Sages, which gives heaven and release Nibbana. This is the time to listen to the teaching. This is the time to listen to the teaching. This is the time to listen to the teaching. Samantaha Chakawalesu Atraha Gacchantu Devata Saddamang Muni Rajasa Sunantu Sakemokadang Dhamma Savanan Kalo Ayang Badanta Dhamma Savanan Kalo Ayang Badanta Dhamma Savanan Kalo Ayang Badanta Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti Piso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vijja Charana Sampanno Sugato Lokavido Anuttaro Purisa Dhammasarati Satta Deva Manusanang Buddho Bhagavati Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Sanditiko Akaliko Ehipasiko Opanayiko Pasyatang Veditapo Venohiti Supatipanno Bhagavato Savakasangho Ujupatipanno Bhagavato Savakasangho Yaya Patipanno Bhagavato Savakasangho Sami Patipanno Bhagavato Savakasangho Yadidang Chattari Purisa Yogani Atta Purisa Pugala Esa Bhagavato Savakasangho Ahuneyo Pahuneyo Dakkineyo Anjali Karaniyo Anuttarang Punyaketang Lokasati Sadhu Sadhu Sadhu. Okay, now we'll continue from where we stopped. Turn to page 18, the last paragraph of this book. What is the difference between awareness and consciousness? So this is a book based on the Dhamma talk that I delivered in the year 2019 during the Thursday class. So now it has been transcribed into a book. and it's available for free distribution. So we are at page 18. Okay. Subsection: importance of developing this apamada or heedfulness. So as always emphasized by the Buddha, developing heedfulness is very important because this one, the teaching, they are being developed in such a manner that under the Dhammapada verses, there is this apamada vaga, where they call it the Dhammapada verses on the section heedfulness or apamada. So it's verse 21 onward. And the first three verses, verse 21, 22, 23, are very important. That's why under the talk, I just go direct into the essence. I said that's the reason why when the Buddha taught sati or mindfulness, he emphasized only on heedfulness. Because without heedfulness, you cannot deal with life. You are unable to understand life. To understand life, you must be heedful. And to be heedful, there are two parts. Dhammapada verse 23 said, the constantly meditative, ever mindful, and steadfast one, bracket, meaning if one keeps to these two practices or cultivation, one will realize the supreme born-free enlightenment, Nibbana, which means you are assured of enlightenment in the here and the now. Then also, as the saying goes, the heedful never die. The Buddha always mentioned that. Whereas the heedless are as if dead. This is based on Dhammapada verse 21. And it also expressed the same meaning. Then he said, heedfulness is the path to the deathless. It means the moment you have developed heedfulness, you will have the eternal life. You will never die ignorant. Hence, no more rebirth due to ignorance or avijja. Implies you will eventually realize arahantship, the fourth stage of sainthood and beyond. So this part, ever mindful and constantly meditative, in bracket, meaning constantly cultivating Noble Eightfold Path as taught by the Buddha, is what heedfulness is. When we combine these two, then you are heedful in the midst of life. You must be heedful not only when you are in the retreat, in formal meditation, but also while in the midst of life. Not only your daily life, not only your daily mindfulness must be very stable, but you must also have clear comprehension as well. That's the reason why it is mentioned in the teaching that your sati sampajana, mindfulness and clear comprehension, must also be very stable. So when we understand the meaning of heedfulness, then we know there are two parts to it. To be heedful, we need to develop first mindfulness, awareness, sati. Where the first part to be heedful is to be ever mindful. Unless you are mindful, then you stabilize it. You cannot be ever mindful. And this state of mind, ever mindful, constantly meditative, must be with you throughout the day. Not only when you are in a retreat, in a formal meditation, but while you are going through your daily life, in the midst of life, based your daily mindfulness must also be very stable. You must also have this ability to be ever mindful, constantly meditative. That's why the training of the mind to develop wisdom always start with training the mind to be aware, to be mindful, then stabilizing it to be ever mindful. And from there, use it to meditate. And what is the meditation as taught by the Buddha? If you look at the Four Noble Truths, which are the essence of the Buddha's teaching, the first Noble Truth defines clearly to us the realities of life and existence, the eight realities. If you confront them without wisdom, suffering is the result. So this is definitely a proclamation of the Noble Truth of Dukkha. It has nothing to do with meditation yet. Then the second Noble Truth talk about the cause of arising of suffering. The Buddha said whatever suffering that arises when you confront the first Noble Truth reality, the cause behind is always craving, born of sakkayaditthi or self-delusion or ignorance. So again, this is not meditation. This is just a proclamation of a fact, the cause behind the arising of suffering. And the first two Noble Truths is for us to develop the clear understanding of life. When you understand what suffering is and the cause behind its arising, at least you can be cautious of life. You can take precaution in life. If this is suffering and this is the cause behind, then you can deal with it. You can manage it better. Then the Buddha didn't end there. He go on to proclaim the third Noble Truth. And all these Noble Truths are true that can make you noble ones or enlightened ones when you understand them, when you awaken to them. So the third Noble Truth is the Noble Truth of cessation of dukkha. Means suffering need not be, the Buddha said. Suffering can come to an end. Cessation of suffering is possible. Again, this is not the meditation. This is just a proclamation of a fact that you need not go through suffering. Suffering need not be. When you have developed the understanding, the awakening, the wisdom, then all suffering can end. Then cessation of dukkha is possible. Then when we come to the fourth Noble Truth, if you read the proclamation clearly, then you realize this is the meditation, because the Buddha in the fourth Noble Truth he proclaimed. He said there is this noble eightfold path. If you cultivate them, it will lead to the end of all suffering. So what is the purpose of the Buddhist meditative training or meditation? Is to develop wisdom, to be free from all suffering in life. That's why this Noble Eightfold Path is the meditation as taught by the Buddha. And within this Noble Eightfold Path, all his teaching, they arise from there. Each and every of these Noble Eightfold Path factors, they are very noble in their constituent. So if you want to proclaim to be an enlightened being, you must at least have the embodiments of all these 8 path factors before you can become a noble one. You must have all these noble qualities of the what they call Noble Eightfold Path. And so means an enlightened being will definitely develop the enlightenment that transform them until they have the embodiments of these Noble Eightfold Path qualities within them. Means they must have right view with regards to all the spiritual laws that governs life and existence, especially the law of karma, karma niyama, law of mind, chitta niyama, and law of truth, Dhamma niyama. Then they will have these noble qualities of right thought, They always arise right thought, no more deluded wrong thought, heedless thinking. That has the evil roots of greed, hatred, and delusion. Their thought will be pure, wholesome, free of the evil roots of greed, hatred, and delusion. Means these are virtuous thoughts, full of virtue, full of kindness, goodness, full of understanding. Then it will condition from right thought. Because right view condition right thought. Right thought will condition right speech, right action, and the way you live your life. Everything will fall into place. That's why right livelihood or right living. All this will follow. Then they will also have the embodiment of the four right effort to constantly transform, refine upon what they have developed and perfect them all. Means the four right effort to help them avoid all evil, do good, and develop wholesomeness. Yeah. Then after that, they will have the embodiment of samasati, continuous mindfulness. Means the quality of mindfulness leading to the ability to be ever mindful in the midst of life. Then from there, when mindfulness stabilizes, it becomes samadhi. Yeah. Samadhi. So samasati and samadhi will enable the cultivator of the way to see things as they are, to insight into phenomena, to awaken. And this is what awareness-based meditation is all about. It's nothing to do with thought. That's why the final transformation, which is the third turning wisdom, Bhavana Bhavana Maya Panya, is always about sati or mindfulness. That's why our title of this book is You Must Understand Clearly the difference between sati or mindfulness and consciousness. To be mindful is not the same as to be conscious. You can be conscious of life, conscious of what you see, what you hear, what you smell, what you taste, what you technically feel and think. But you may not be mindful within. The mindfulness is the awareness nature within that is aware of everything that arises within the form of mind. That is sati. And the awareness is just aware before the knowing, before the arising of thought, before the arising of the aggregate of mind. It's the pure awareness, the pure perception before the arising of the aggregates of mind. So that pure seeing, the pure awareness, like the newborn baby, before any conditioning, any brain activity, they are very cute, very naive, very pure. They see things as they are. They hear things as they are. They smell, taste everything without memory, without knowledge. That is the way they are, pure. But this process, it happens when they are very young. And that time their brain, their memory are not developed as yet. So the conditioning, the views, opinion, belief system all hasn't actually been accumulated as yet. But later on, through all the education, conditioning, teaching, everything, they start to develop all this thought-based knowledge, memory, accumulation of experiences and knowledge. And this is how the individual, or from the child, the baby, you grew up and become a sophisticated human being. Then, because you're only familiar with thought, you act according to memory. And thought is response to memory. That's why you use thought a lot. Thought is mainly knowledge-based, thought-based, energy-based. So thought-based meditation or thought-based teaching give rise to knowledge, then maybe cunningness, cleverness, some form of so-called intelligence, but it's never wisdom. Where thought is limited, it cannot develop the understanding of whatever that is within, beyond its peripheral. So thought, being limited, does not see the totality. It cannot be aware of the total movement. And because of that, it cannot develop wisdom. And when wisdom cannot be developed, then there is no way with the limited knowledge you can actually develop the enlightenment in the here and the now, which the Buddha proclaimed under the salutation of the Dhamma. Where this Dhamma that he realized is beyond thought, beyond mind. That's why you must go beyond thought. You must develop it through sati, mindfulness, or what we call awareness base. To be mindful is to be aware. Just aware before the perception, before the knowing, before the thought process come in, before the arising of the mundane mind. The pure awareness mind is your true mind, your silent mind, the meditative mind. That one is the silent mind that can develop the understanding of whatever movement, that can see things as they are, that can insight into phenomena, that can develop its own understanding so that it is not deluded by the phenomenal of consciousness. So all this is what awareness-based meditation is all about. Okay, we go back to the sharing. Okay, the next part is Avijja Sutta, section 3.3.1.7, Avijja Sutta. So Avijja is ignorance, Sutta on ignorance. And this Avijja Sutta is very important. In the Avijja Sutta, it is clearly stated that this Sati Sampajana is step 5 of the 10 steps leading to enlightenment. So the Avijja Sutta has got 2 cycles. One is the ignorance cycle, how one actually develops the ignorant and heedless living to fall under suffering. Then the other one is the 10th step leading towards enlightenment, means the reversal of the Avijja Sutta. When there is no more Avijja, means you will realize enlightenment. So under this 10th step, the 5th step is always Sati Sampajana. So the Buddha mentioned this in the Avijja Sutta. You can go to the website, our website, at brotio.com and check. It is all there. There are 10 steps for you to follow to develop the cultivation so that you can realize enlightenment in the here and the now. And the first 3 steps, like I always say, all Kayamitas will have. And what are they? What is the first step? Yes, very good. To have noble friends, or Kayamitas. What are Kayamitas? They are spiritual or Dhamma friends. If you are part of our Kayamita, how can you not have Dhamma friends? You surely will have a lot. And there are 2 types of Kayamitas. One is just ordinary or normal Dhamma friends who walk the path of Dhamma to cultivate and progress along the path of Dhamma. The other one are Dhamma friends who have the Dhamma. And that one is more difficult to come by. As mentioned by Sister Amy just now, these noble friends who have the Dhamma, they can really guide you and teach you. They can show you the way. So this first step to having Dhamma friends is very important. All Kalyanamittas will have this attribute. Then the second step, also you will have. Why? Because if you have Kalyanamittas, you will know when there are Dhamma sessions or classes. Like in our case, we have our Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday weekly classes, right? Then when we have our Dhamma talk in the temple or other places, you will also be notified. Example, in the early days, we have some of this invitation by people from other temples or Buddhist organization. And sometimes it's also our monthly house dana session. Then we also have our spiritual trips and many other. So having the opportune time to constantly listen to the true Dhamma is step 2 of the Abhijja Sutta. And this listening to the true Dhamma is very important. It's a very important step because from this step 2, you get to develop step 3 and 4. And what is step 3? Should be very easy, isn't it? After you have listened to the true Dhamma, what will happen to you? Then somebody answered that. I said, no. Your practice, of course, will go on. You can carry on separately. But when you listen to the true Dhamma, what do you develop? Yes, precisely. First and second turning wisdom, leading to having the faith in the Buddha and his teaching. Because when you have the first and second turning wisdom, you will know this teaching is not what people believe in. This teaching stands up to investigation. That's why it is ehipassiko. It can stand up to investigation. And when you realize that it stands up to investigation, your faith in the Buddha and his teaching becomes very, very stable, very deep. Then this one will drive you to develop the spiritual faculty of virya, to diligently, sincerely, with understanding, cultivate sati leading to heedfulness. So all this is how the cultivation will be. Then you will determine to follow the advice of the Buddha. Dhammapada verse 183, to avoid all evil, do good, purify your mind. So this first and second turning wisdom, they are very useful. We call it yoniso manasikara. First turning wisdom is Suttamaya Panya, wisdom born of hearing the Sutta, discourse of the Buddha. So if you keep on listening to the true Dhamma, you will continuously straighten your view. That's how you develop Suttamaya Panya. Then if you are still not so sure of the teaching, what must you do? The Buddha said you must move on to the second turning. You must reflect, contemplate, and inquire into them. Like why did the Buddha say all this? Like the First Noble Truths, 8 reality. You should go through them one by one. Why did the Buddha say birth is suffering? Old age, sickness, and death are also suffering. How can I understand them? Definitely, I need to reflect, contemplate, and investigate it to see whether it stands up to investigation or not. And this is second turning wisdom, termed Chintamaya Panya. But most of us nowadays tend to associate birth with joy, looking forward to being a grandparent or to becoming a daddy or a mom. Then looking forward to the full moon day. You only think of the good things, but you never think of problematic things arising. and there are complications during the birth process. Not all birth processes are smooth sailing. There can be complications. Sometimes the complication can be very traumatic. If the complication is such that the doctor come on and asks you which one you want to say, the mother or the child, I can tell you, such a test is not easy to pass. Of course, you can request the doctor to say both, but the doctor will tell you, I will try my best. But you, move it out, but you must decide. Otherwise, it will be very difficult, especially so when the birth is an unusual birth. They call it breech, where the leg come out first, not the head. So when there is a complication, they must do something. But nowadays, they can have cesarean birth. They can cut open the womb and take out the baby. But if it's choked inside there for too long, not enough oxygen, and the mother doesn't have enough strength or energy to push, the fetus can die inside. That's why the doctor must act fast, and they will do whatever they can. So when there is complication, only do we understand why birth is suffering. Then we can also contemplate and reflect further. The moment there is birth, what follows? Old age, sickness, and death, right? So the Buddha is correct. Birth is indeed truly suffering. Birth is not what you think. If you don't have the wisdom to accept the realities of the moment, then suffering will arise because birth, old age, sickness, and death, all these are first noble truth reality common to all humanity. If you live life long enough, you must confront them. And whether you suffer or you don't suffer depends on your understanding or wisdom. Your Dhamma understanding to understand all this reality. That's why the 5 daily contemplation that the Buddha has taught us are very important. The Buddha said you must reflect and contemplate every day. That this body of mine is of the nature to grow old, get sick and die. For it has not gone beyond old age, sickness, and death. For it goes the way of nature and is therefore non-self, dependent originating, condition arising, not a permanent unchanging entity, hence not me. And I must not cling on to it. We are saying this is me, this is I, and all this can be mine. If I attach and cling to this body, what happens? I will worry about it getting old, getting sick, and die. And I will suffer because I believe this is me. This is the ego. I read again, sorry. I will suffer because I believe this is me. This is the ego, the personality. But instead, this one is just a vehicle and a tool karmically conditioned out for you to come to this existential world, for you to use it. So use it wisely and not be deluded by it. This body is only elements, the 4 elements, has got no known. And it goes the way of nature. So how can it be you? And moreover, these elements are always in the state of flux, dependent originating and condition arising, following nature's condition. Similarly, you can see how these 5 areas of form and mind, the so-called human being, with its life force emanating you into a human being, is also dependent originating, hence not a permanent unchanging entity. With awareness-based meditation, you will see and understand all this in the meditation. That's how the Buddha's mind free. Remember, the Buddha saw the 4 signs, and because of that, he left the palace in search for enlightenment to seek answer to the problem of old age, sickness, and death. The fourth sign is a holy man, a samana. That is why he chose to go the spiritual way, to meditate. When he meditated and realized this law of dependent origination, the paticca samuppada, he realized the form and mind is not a permanent unchanging entity, hence not him. And his problem is gone, and no one. Birth, old age, sickness, and death has nothing to do with him. It pertains to the conditioned world, to the form and mind, the human being. With this wisdom, he went into cessation and realized Nibbana and his true nature within. This is how he freed. So this is the understanding that can unfold. Okay, the next subsection, 3.3.1.8. The three turning wisdom and Yoniso Manasikara. When you listen to the true Dhamma, you will develop a lot of contemplative wisdom. We are constant contemplation, reflection, and investigation. When it stands up to investigation, your faith becomes very strong. In particular, faith in the Buddha and his teaching. And this is step 3 of the enlightenment cycle of the Avijja Sutta. Listening to the true Dhamma can bring about the first and second turning wisdom. With this first and second turning wisdom cultivated, your understanding will start to stabilize and you can become very confident. Then you can assimilate all this understanding into your nature. That is how Yoniso Manasikara, the initial wisdom born of first and second turning wisdom, means born of Suttamaya Panya and Chintamaya Panya, comes to be. When this wisdom stabilizes, you will have this so-called Yoniso Manasikara or initial wisdom develop in your nature. Then the next time when you fall sick, get old, or about to die, that understanding will surface to let you understand that this form and mind is impermanent, dependent originating, and condition arising. Hence not a permanent unchanging entity. Hence not you, non-self, and empty. This understanding straight away will prompt you and allow you to free because you understand clearly that this body is not me. It goes the way of nature. This body is only element. You will grow old, get sick and die. So let it be. When conditions are such, things will be such. Just accept that reality and you will be free. And the next subsection is the importance of constantly developing this 5 daily contemplation that the Buddha taught to all the monks and devotees. That is why the first 3 of the 5 daily contemplation that the Buddha said this body of mine is of the nature to grow old, get sick and die, or has not gone beyond old age, sickness and death is very important. And every day you must reflect and contemplate upon them. Then the fourth contemplation is separation from your loved ones and prized possession or things, including things that you hold on to dearly. So separation will occur where these are all dependent originating entities or phenomena. Dependent on the condition they arise. When the causes and conditions cease to be, they cease to be. That's why they will separate from you one day. Even when you are still around, you may think you own them. But when your breath stops, your identity will be erased. And you still will be separated from them. So separation from loved ones, your prized possession, and things that you hold on to dearly will happen. But this is the reality within the conditioned world, which you can't escape. When it happens, you have the Dhamma, you can accept what happened because all these are dependent originating and condition arising entity within the phenomenal world of consciousness. They are just phenomena, arising and passing away, following nature's law. Or like what my teacher said, only mighty nature's condition rolling by, no reality. And they have the universal characteristics of impermanent, leading to suffering. That is, when you attach and cling onto them, you suffer, because they are impermanent, hence empty and non-self, not what you think. All this understanding, they will surface, and this wisdom will free your mind. Where this is Yoniso Manasikara. This is how you develop clear, penetrative understanding. That every time you see something, this wisdom will prompt you, will surface. Then you will understand and be reminded of the teaching. He is just the way he is. The world is the world. When conditions are like that, things will be like that. If you do not stir your mind anymore, sorry, it will not stir your mind anymore. Even if you say something, even if he says something very abusive, very hurtful, and difficult for most people to endure. With this understanding, you can still accept him for what he is, and you can still have compassion and love towards him. Means you can come to terms with that reality. See things as they are, accept him for what he is. Just like what Jesus said before they crucified him. He said, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. Or forgive him, the person who is supposed to do it. Or he knows not what he is doing. Because he is what he is. Deluded people do deluded things. Angry people say angry things. Abusive people say abusive things. They are just the way they are. And if I have this wisdom or this understanding, born of Yoniso Manasikara, I can come to terms with all this reality. I can accept that. Then I am at peace. I can accept them for what they are. Then I am at peace. But I still must act. It doesn't mean that I don't act and let him do what he likes. If I can apply Noble Eightfold Path understanding with the right view, then I don't get angry. I don't stir my mind or react to what happened. Then he will not become violent. If you can say, I'm sorry if I have caused you any misunderstanding, I really would like to apologize. The whole scenario will be different, right? Instead, if you try to justify and argue with him, you can get yourself into big trouble. So why not develop the right speech and right action to resolve it amicably via saying, if I have caused you any misunderstanding or harm, I would like to sincerely apologize. I'm sorry and thank you for your kind understanding. The moment you start to apologize, he will also tone down and say, don't worry, small matter. I'm also at fault, and the matter gets resolved amicably. Otherwise, if you hit his ego, he's going to be more and more angry. Where chances are, he doesn't have the Dhamma understanding. You don't expect him to be like an angel, ever ready to forgive you. So all these are part and parcel of how one can apply the teachings. The Buddha said, after you have listened to the true Dhamma, you can reflect and contemplate to develop the first and second turning wisdom. Then you put it to test, and if it stands up to investigation, step 3 of Avijja Sutta, which is faith in the Buddha and his teaching, will be established. Then step 4 is when you have the initial wisdom developed. Yoniso Manasikara developed. When you have Yoniso Manasikara, do you know what will happen to you? You become less reactive in the midst of life. because of this initial wisdom. After that, you will not heedlessly stir or react to sense experience like before. That is how you develop more peace or equanimity. You will have more understanding to be more at peace with whatever that arises within your mind. This is how you can have more and more moments of peace or silence, more and more awareness, leading to more and more space between thoughts. That is how your daily mindfulness can be stabilized. Without Yoniso Manasikara, the Buddha said, step 5, which is Sati Sampajana, cannot happen. You need to have the spiritual faculties to develop step 5. Meditative mind means the mind that has mindfulness and clear comprehension. So Yoniso Manasikara is a prerequisite step 4. Then only you can have more and more peace, more and more space between thought. And then only your sati or daily mindfulness can stabilize. And then you can see it clearly. Then you can apply clear comprehension, leading to not only sati, but with sampajana. Means you are not only mindful in the midst of life, you have clear comprehension within the sati manifestation. When you have the sati, daily mindfulness, go develop. The meditative sati or daily mindfulness, not only it must be stable, it must also be not deluded. Means you must have clear comprehension so that you do not deviate from the cultivation. Without the four type of clear comprehension, chances you can deviate. Chances are you will deviate, or you may not understand the whole cultivation clear enough. So if you want to know about the four type of clear comprehension, you go and read up from the Heart Sutta book. I have shared it under many occasions. But here, during the sharing, I don't have the time to go into all this. Okay, I will read on. You need to have the spiritual faculties to develop step 5, meditative mind, is sati sampajana. Your spiritual faculty must be stability of sati, leading to your ability to be ever mindful, constantly meditating. Then it will give rise to the understanding. Of course, you also need step 4, the Yoniso Manasikara. Okay, this initial wisdom Yoniso Manasikara. Wait, I read again further up. I read the whole thing further. Step 5, the meditative mind, or sati sampajana. And this meditative mind needs to realize the wisdom, the initial wisdom, born of listening to the true Dhamma and the contemplative reflection on the Dhamma. This initial wisdom is Yoniso Manaskara, and when this Yoniso Manaskara initial wisdom stabilizes, step 5 is established. Then step 6 and 7 will follow. You will know what step 6 is. Step 6 is sense restraint. This one becomes automatic. When your initial wisdom develops, your sati sampajana, daily mindfulness, and clear comprehension, with clear comprehension becomes stable, then you can see clearly your defilements, your evil roots of greed, hatred, and delusion. You can see them all. Then what constitutes evil, you will also understand. Then you can follow the advice of the Buddha to avoid all evil, do good, and purify the mind. How do you avoid all evil? To keep the precept. How does one keep the precept? we reside by cultivating. I undertake the training rules to abstain from all this evil activity, killing, causing harm to fellow living beings, lying, committing sexual misconduct, etc. Clearly seeing the danger of breaking such precepts, we are contemplating who will kill, who will harm. Only violent people, angry people, deluded people, and selfish people means people with all the three evil roots of greed, hatred, and delusion. You can see your subtle craving, subtle desire, subtle ego manifesting. We are wanting to be right, wanting to argue. So all this, you will start to see them in your awareness, in your daily life. That's why it will bring forth the stability of understanding. And that one can actually bring forth the awakening. Then the next subsection is the three evil roots and the meaning of anusaya, asava, and kilesa. Kilesa are normal defilement. Anusaya are negative habitual tendency. That is, defilement that have become habitual. This movement from your anusaya inside can be very latent, always waiting to erupt. Then there is what they call asava, very strong defilement, which are very latent and very active inside. Have you all heard of all these three Pali words? Kilesa, Anusaya, and Asava. All this come about because during your daily life, you don't have daily mindfulness. You are not heedful. You are heedless. And heedlessness gives rise to all this mental hindrance, or what they call negativity of mind state, that make your behavior so negative and habitual. This develop into habitual tendency, which can be very latent. When it becomes very latent inside, it's like this asava hidden inside, waiting for condition to arise, to erupt, or to shoot up. Eckhart call it the pain body. Means your emotional negativity. When nobody disturb you, it is dormant, not active. But when people step on your tail or toe, that pain body is triggered off. That's why we call it the pain body, or in Pali, it's called asava, very strong defilements. All these are very active and latent, said the Buddha. So without daily mindfulness and the initial wisdom developed, you cannot deal with sense experience, having such defilements within. At every instant of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, tactile, and thought process, you cannot cope or handle, because they move so fast. And it's like they all arise simultaneously, because it's so habitual and latent. When you come out to live life, you must act, you must see, and you must make decisions. And everything moves so fast, and you don't have mindfulness. You cannot be at the moment of seeing, hearing, smell, taste, tactile, to understand what is going on. You have no time to think. Moreover, thinking will not help you understand too. What you need is wisdom and understanding. Yoniso manasikara. That is why this initial wisdom, which is yoniso manasikara, they must be there for it to arise spontaneously. It will come out and prompt you to develop the understanding spontaneously, thereby enabling you to act with wisdom, following the Dhamma way. You don't need to think. That nature inside that understanding straight from the heart, it will arise, surface. That's why I say, This wisdom you cannot learn. You must develop it. Then the moment you develop it, it is there, always there in your nature. No need to remember. That's why I always tell Kayamita in the early day, I used to tell Yunjan, I say, this Yoniso Manasikara initial wisdom, you have means you have. You don't have means you don't have. You cannot learn them. You cannot say, I want to learn to develop this wisdom. Because it's not from learning. It's from direct seeing, awakening, insight. It's born of awareness-based meditation. Of course, there is also the first turning and second turning wisdom. And you must be attentive, mindful, in a creative state to actually listen attentively. Okay, I'll read on. You no longer act with delusion and ignorance via members. You will act with noble effort. You will have the right view to accept the reality of the moment first. Then your mind cannot stir. There is clarity within. Then you know what your options are and how to resolve issues or things amicably. You will also know how to give rise to right speech, right thought, right action. And you will live your life in accordance to the right living or right livelihood. But before that, you must constantly train your mind via diligently cultivating the four right efforts to abandon the wrong thought, wrong speech, wrong action that has arisen. Then later on, when your initial wisdom stabilizes, you can give rise to the second right effort to prevent them from arising. When you can prevent them from arising, it means you already have sense restraint. And sense restraint is step 6 of Avijja Sutta. You will come to understand these are wrong thoughts that condition your evil roots to make you evil, therefore causing you to suffer or be afflicted. Then straight away that wrong thought will subside because of your wisdom, born of the initial wisdom or Yoniso Manasikara. When you can have sense restraint, it means your precept will be in order by then. You will not make mistake anymore. That's why the Buddha said, after this step 6, step 7 will arise. And what is step 7? It is the 3 way of right conduct. You will have this ability to act correctly. And this right speech, right action, and right thought will always be with you. That's why these first 7 steps of the Avijja Sutta, they are very powerful. So the next subsection is realizing Sotapanaship, first stage of sainthood, second stage of sainthood, Sakadagami, and step 8, which is the 4 foundations of mindfulness. The Buddha said, you have finished these first 7 steps, you are at least a Sotapana or a Sotapanna, if not a Sakadagami. Because after step 7 is step 8. Step 8 is the cultivation of the 4 foundations of mindfulness. And do you know what these 4 foundations of mindfulness cultivation are all about? It always starts with this. The sentence, then somebody, I think, developed the understanding answer. And I said, yes. You read the 4 foundations of mindfulness. There is this opening verse before you go into the cultivation. The Buddha always say, after overcoming covetousness and greed, then only you can start to cultivate the 4 foundations of mindfulness. So without step 6 and 7 cultivated, do you think you can overcome covetousness and greed? You can't even have sense restraint. How can you have the 3 way of right conduct? to overcome covetousness and greed. Then how can you develop the further cultivation? That's why knowing. That's why after that, only you can go into the step 8, which is the cultivation of the 4 foundation of mindfulness. And after you have the first 7 steps cultivated, the 4 foundation of mindfulness cultivation will be very easy. It's like you just breeze through, because the following training are already there. You already have the initial wisdom, Yoniso, Manasikara. Your daily mindfulness already established. Then you have Sati, Sampajana, clear comprehension. All these are so stable already before you go to step 8. That's why all the words of the Buddha mentioned under the 4 foundation of mindfulness cultivation, at that time I understand. And I know what those things are. Not according to what most books try to explain to you through their commentaries. Nothing to do with all those thought-based noting, training, and doing. It is the awareness that is aware. In Kaya Nupassana, Vedana Nupassana, Chitta Nupassana, and Dhamma Nupassana, the Buddha always said, mindfulness of the body in the body, internally and externally. Do you know what these are? Internally means within your own kaya, the 4 portion with all its movement and activity. Sati Sampajana, the daily mindfulness. You can be aware internally. Then you can see all this activity. That's why Kaya Nupassana is to train your mindfulness, to stabilize it, to anchor it to your Kaya. Then after that, when you can be mindful within, you can also be mindful outside or externally. That is why at that time, nobody taught me. I also haven't heard of all this type of sutta at that time. But somehow I can see my awareness, especially my specific phenomenal awareness. It's always with all phenomena that move. Then I saw one char kway teow or guy frying rice noodle or kway teow. And I was so amazed, like I was inside him doing the char kway teow. All his action, movement are like my mind and awareness is inside him, doing all those activities. That is mindful externally. Then feeling also same. You can feel and sense people's feeling outside. You can sense their content of consciousness. They have become one. All these are possible because your sensitivity of mindfulness, your wisdom and understanding are there. Then you can also feel nature. The nature's energy means the energy within nature and the great beings nature, cultivators of the way. You can also feel them. You can draw from them. And people who are cultivating, they can also draw from your nature. And you can know they are around. Their nature is everywhere. That is why these great beings nature, they are ever radiating for the cultivators of the way. When you start to cultivate the 4 foundation of mindfulness, that is step 8 of Avijja Sutta. The Buddha said, during step 8, you will start to experience the 7 factors of enlightenment. You keep on, they will keep on arising. Means you have done it correctly, in accordance with what he has taught you, meaning you are on the right path. Then the final 4th foundation is the next subsection, Dhammanupassana, mindfulness of Dhamma. When it comes to Dhammanupassana, there are 5 categories of practices. The first category is mindfulness of the 5 mental hindrances of mind. And this mindfulness of the 5 mental hindrances you will clear very fast because your daily mindfulness is already established. Then you can understand why the Buddha said there are 5 ways to overcome unwholesome thought, like the 5 mental hindrances. The first way is to think of the direct opposite wholesome thought. This is still thought-based. That one you can skip. The second one is to think of the consequence and danger of allowing this unwholesome thought to continue within your mind state. Where this is a wrong thought, an unwholesome thought with the evil roots, it will make you evil. You must decide to abandon them. Then the third way is the meditative way, where one just silence one's mind and maintain awareness within. When there is restlessness, sensual desire, sloth and torpor, ill will, and doubt in your mind, no need to do anything. Just silence your mind and be with it. The Buddha gave the analogy of the pool of water. Can you remember? He asked Ananda, his attendant, to collect the water for him. Initially, the first 2 times, the water was still murky or muddy. Why? Because the bullock cart passed by, stirred the water, hence it was not fit for drinking. But at night, when he went again, the water was clear. He took the water back with joy, and the Buddha asked him, "What have you learned? What had you learned?" The Buddha later explained to Ananda, when the block cart do not go across, and you let it settle out long enough, what will happen? The sediment all will settle down. So clear water can be collected. Your mind is the same. Its original state is stillness, tranquility, and the awareness nature within. Therefore, all this so-called anger, hatred, emotion, sankhara activity, feeling, perception, consciousness, etc., they are not intrinsic within your nature, where they are all dependent originating mental phenomena. Understand this. Then in the meditation, the third way, realizing. So you must meditate to find out. When you see something, why did you get angry? Become emotional, restless, or let your sensual desire arise? Why can't you just silence your mind and stay with it? Then find out what happened, like anger, or hatred, or fear. The mind will settle down. But these are dependent originating mind state. It needs condition for it to continue to get angry or become fearful or continue to be lustful or agitated. But because you silence your mind and don't do anything, just let the awareness be, then what happens? When the supporting condition, born of wrong thought, wrong view, are no longer there, they will all settle down and cease. Initially, the sankhara will start to slow down. The emotion, etc., all will slow down and disperse. Then you will realize the true mind, which is tranquil and still. Again, thereby realizing that the original mind, which is your true mind, is your silent mind, the awareness nature within. Then you realize there is peace, there is tranquility, there is stillness, there is no more agitation, no more stress. Then you will come to understand, like what the Buddha said in the sutta. You will come to know how the unerased sensual desire or you will comes to be. That is through one of your senses. Because before you get angry, there was no anger, isn't it? Then how did you get angry? When people say something you don't like, or you recall through memory, or see something that makes you unhappy, then your mind stirs. That's why it's dependent originating. So it is through one of your senses. That is why you will come to know how the unerased mental hindrance come to be. Then when you meditate via the third and the fourth way to trace the origination factor, and then retrospectively reverse it, you will understand better. Then you will develop the understanding to understand how this erased mental hindrance ceases to be when you don't do anything. Except we are maintaining just an awareness within. So finally, when you get to know how the unerased, sorry, I read through it again. So finally, when you get to know how the unerased one arises and how the erased one ceases, it means you know how to free your mind. After you have wisdom and understanding, you can straighten your view. Then you will come to know how in the future this mental hindrance will never arise again. This is what the Satipatthana Sutta is all about. That is how you should meditate, not according to what you had read via the commentaries without proper understanding. Meditation must be done with understanding. You just silence your mind and maintain awareness. Then later, through daily mindfulness, you develop mindfulness of the 6 internal sense bases and 6 external sense bases. After you have developed the mindfulness of the 5 mental hindrance, you move on to do the mindfulness of the 5 grasping aggregate of form and mind. To see all this aggregate of Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, and Vijnana arising and disappearing very clearly. Then you can be at the moment of feeling, at the moment of perception, at the moment of Sankhara activity, before it starts to concord and move, before it even stir, react, and think. It is like slow motion inside there for you to see. It is like it cannot move because of your stability of mindfulness. Your mindfulness and wisdom are so stable, it can just stay there. I can still remember at the moment of contact, it just stayed there. It didn't move. That's why when they tell you upon contact feeling arise, don't believe, but investigate it. Because only when you release it, means the awareness release it, then feeling arise. Then the content of consciousness went in. If you lack mindfulness or wisdom at the moment of sense experience, feeling will be conditioned into craving straight away. Feeling cannot be pure feeling. That's why you will come to understand why they ask you to cut a feeling is a fallacy. How can you cut a feeling? Without wisdom, you cannot cut. You cannot free. You cannot stop that movement, that link from feeling to craving. It's as if it is automatic. That is how I come to realize. Without this yoniso manasikara and understanding, you cannot act. You totally cannot act. When you have them, this wisdom just come out and prompt you and straight away frees you, liberate your mind. That is how feeling can still become pure feeling, and you can laugh at it. You know it cannot move anymore. Uh, that is why the whole cultivation, when you understand, is so different. This mindfulness of the 5 aggregates of form and mind, cultivation, you will also go through. After that, you move on to cultivate the mindfulness of the 6 internal and 6 external sense bases. And this is the 4th way to meditate, to overcome unwholesome thought. This is how you trace the origination factor, how anger come to be, how fear comes to be, how restlessness of mind come to be, how sensual desire and ill will and doubt comes to be. When you when you stay with them, with pure awareness, it will cease to be. Then you start to understand the Dhamma. You start to understand how this form in mind is like the physics experiment analogy. How upon contact it trigger of consciousness via nature's law. Then the input of the content of consciousness determine your karma via mental intention input. All this, you will see them. You will start to see them. Then you start to understand. When you understand all this, the next mindfulness training within the Dhammanupassana category of cultivation is cultivation of mindfulness of the seven factors of enlightenment. And this is step 9 of Abhijja Sutta. When you cultivate this, the seven factors of enlightenment keep on arising. Because by then, you would have finished cultivating Kaya-nupassana, Vedana-nupassana, Chitta-nupassana, then now Dhamma-nupassana. You have come almost the full way. The last one you haven't done is mindfulness of the three turnings of the Four Noble Truths. But before this three turning of the Four Noble Truths cultivation, you must have reflected and contemplated while constantly listening to the true Dhamma. That implies you have done part of the mindfulness of the three turnings of the Four Noble Truths already. Then when you cultivate the four foundation of mindfulness, it is all about direct seeing with the silent mind. Via bhavana maya panya. That one is very penetrating. That one will lead to awakening. That is the reason why by the time you move on to Dhammanupassana, you would have understood all those words and instructions of the Buddha. Then the seven factors of enlightenment keep on arising. Sati, Dhammavicaya, Virya, Piti, Pasati, Samadhi, and Upekkha. All these will arise. Then you know you're on the right path. You know you are destined for enlightenment. That's why step 10 of the Avijja Sutta is enlightenment in the here and now. So this Avijja Sutta have all the needed cultivation components, the 10 steps very clearly highlighted. Do you know what is Avijja? Avijja is ignorance. So the Buddha purposely spoke this sutta, the sutta on ignorance. It started off with the ignorance cycle, explaining how you fall initially, then how you can develop the enlightenment cycle by reversing it. That's why you must go through all these practices and cultivation. The Buddha said Kayamita shape is 100% of your holy life. This is what he told Ananda. At first Ananda told him it's only 50% of the holy life. But he said to Ananda, no, Kayamita shape is 100% of your holy life. Because without Kayamita, I too realize you cannot find this way. All the great beings are your great Kayamitas, especially the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas. Without them, you cannot find this way. Without the Sammasambuddha and the Sasana, it is not easy, unless you are a Bodhisattva with the vows. Otherwise, when the Sasana window is no more, you cannot find the way. Only very few, which they call Pachika Buddha, can find the way. And these Pachika Buddhas also must have cultivated before. Otherwise, they cannot become Pachika Buddhas. They become Pachika Buddha during non-sasana time. So these are the understanding. Okay, I think we stop here. What page is it? 36. I will mark this page. We will stop here. We are already 4:25. So we still need our 45 minutes of awareness-based meditation. 45 minutes of awareness-based meditation. Just remember the four support, especially the first three. Relax, maintain awareness, then stabilize the awareness within. Then the last one is trust. Trust your nature. May stay with your awareness nature at the heart area. Then just let it move. Let it develop the movement and activity. Okay. Okay. You know, can slowly, mindfully come out of meditation. Try to maintain whatever inner peace, inner calmness, and inner oneness that you have developed for as long as you can. Okay, now we will open up for second session, which is meditation reporting, followed by whatever question that you may have.
Hello,
Hello,
Amitabha,
yeah,
Yo,
okay. Yes,
and Lucio, and okay,
yeah,
Amitas.
yeah,
Thank you, Sister Ingvi, for the nomination.
yeah,
Um, Today, Brother Teo talked so much about so many things, Brother Teo, about the
yeah,
essential teaching of the Buddhas.
yeah,
But okay, I just want to say something about this, based on my personal experience in my own cultivation.
good.
Uh,
That would be good. Yeah,
so let me recall what the other few say first, just a minute. Yeah, today topic is about heedfulness,
mm,
Avijja Sutta,
yes,
uh, and the cultivation, Puja Sutta, and
yes,
then the 5 daily contemplation.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. So actually, when I first started Bharatio, I I always tell Bharatio I do my meditation right
Yeah,
through
yeah, yeah.
Anapanasati first. So that Anapanasati I learned from uh, this Buddhist fellowship in
Mm,
Singapore.
yeah, yeah.
But that kind of helped me to kickstart my meditation.
Yeah,
Um, and then from there, I attended various retreat, and
yeah,
then learning the Heart Sutra book, which is a very important book for me as
yeah.
a reference because all the essential Buddha's teaching is inside,
Yes,
which
yes.
include the
Essential Dhamma.
heedfulness, Dhammapada verse 21 to 23.
Mm, mm.
Actually, that Dhammapada verse 21, 23, actually, you don't quite understand it until you start your cultivation, Bharatia.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
this heedfulness,
Yes,
it's not a simple thing without sati, right? Sati, you need to have the mindfulness to develop into heedfulness, that part of it.
yeah,
So, if you have not started your cultivation of sati, it's not easy to understand
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
statement itself, Dhammapada verse 23
Correct,
especially.
correct.
Until you go into it and do your daily mindfulness,
Yeah,
you
the
know,
sati
then
must
only
come
you can fully
first.
understand,
Yeah,
comprehend the deep meaning of it,
yeah.
Bharatia. That is what I understand,
True, true.
from
Yeah,
that statement itself, It's a
yeah,
very
yeah, yeah.
chim, very deep meaning, that
Mm,
Dhammapada verse 23, yeah.
mm.
Uh, then after that, I like to talk about the Avijja Sutta. Okay, talking about this Avijja Sutta, right, Bharatio? In
Yeah,
my initial training, right, wow, this sutta is very, very important to me.
yeah,
I
yeah.
refer it,
Very, very
I
important.
refer to it almost like uh, daily kind of thing, Yeah,
Mm,
because I want to remind myself how important is this cultivation of the Abhijja Sutta. Step one to, I mean, I won't say up to step 10, but at least the 4 to 5 steps is so
yeah,
important.
yeah, yeah.
So I have
Very
to always,
systematic. It make it very systematic for
yes,
cultivator
yes,
to
yes,
check where you
yes,
are on the
yes,
path of
yes, yes,
cultivating.
correct. Because I'm also a very structured person about because when I learn I need to see something. What
Ah,
am
which
I
is
doing?
very
I need
good.
to have a
Yeah,
compass, a compass, a
yeah,
direction. Like if I
yeah.
need to achieve a certain goal, right? Or even though I don't see the result of the goal yet, but I
Yeah,
need to know the path and how
you
do I
need to
go
know the big
about doing
picture.
it.
Yeah, the big
Yes,
picture.
I need the overall picture, and then step by step, I need to see the
Yes.
milestone. Like number one, what
Yeah,
do I
yeah,
need
yeah.
to do? Number
That's
two,
what
what I need
I
to
will
do?
do. Otherwise, I also won't start on. Yeah,
Yes,
unless I
I'll get
understand.
like lost lah. If I don't have a
Yeah,
compass,
yeah,
I'll get lost, in my
yeah, yeah,
cultivation. So this Avijja Sutta, I find very important to me, lah,
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
know, because there are so many things to learn from the Buddha's teaching.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but if I don't have a goal, a milestone, like
Mm,
going from one place to another, I also need to have a GPS or a roadmap how to go there.
correct,
Although I
correct.
may have many, many different routes to go, but
Yeah,
I mean, as a human being, we like the shortest route, So
yeah,
this
yeah, correct,
Avijja Sutta
correct.
is like the shortest route I can
yeah,
see a map for me, to
mm,
cultivate how do I go about it. Then, of
yeah,
course, Brother Teo also teach a lot of things in between, how to, the final points of how to cultivate, how to go about doing, example, like how
yeah,
to develop the mindfulness,
yeah,
how
yeah,
do you know you have mindfulness, how do you know
mm,
you're aware, the kind of thing. So
correct.
these final pointers are very important. That you understand what you're doing in the name of meditation, like you
Mm,
always say.
yes,
So this is super important,
yeah,
So
super
in
important.
cultivation, you know what you are doing, what kind of meditation you are doing,
Mm,
not do blindly and then you will get lost again,
yeah, yeah,
Although you
yeah,
may have a map, so-called
mm,
map to your so-called final goal. But if
correct.
you do it wrongly, you'll be in circles, going around in circles
Yeah, yeah,
in that in that stack, especially stack number what 3 and 4. You
yeah,
can go
yeah.
in circle, go in circle, go in circle. So if you want to step out of the circle, you need to know what is mindfulness,
Yeah,
sati, and how to develop it. Like Brother always mentioned, sati is
yeah,
just aware, without
yeah,
thought and do nothing, without any how you call that, without the trying to understand to do or to think. Okay,
yeah.
you do nothing.
No
So
need,
that,
no need to
yeah,
know,
no
no
need
need
to
to
do,
do.
no need to know. That two
No
step
need
is
to
so
do.
important in my
Yeah, that
initial
one is the egoic mind.
cultivation.
The
Yes.
knowing
So
is
that
the
one is really important pointers
yeah,
in my
yeah.
meditation development. I know.
Mm.
Okay, so that is for the step 3 and 4. So that two steps very important to me. Then, in addition to that, right, the other thing that Brazil always emphasize is the sati sampajana, how to have
Yeah,
clear comprehension,
yes,
of
yes,
the
yes.
your number one is sincerity of purpose, your domain of
Yeah,
meditation. You can do
sincerity
your
of
walking,
purpose.
your
Yes,
sitting, your lying
yeah,
down. In
yeah,
whatever action that you do, you have to be aware that you're doing that. You're not lost in thought,
yeah,
thinking of the future and the past. So this one, thinking of the future and the past, when we are not mindful or heedless, this is always what we are doing,
yeah. It will
thinking
happen
of
very
the past,
fast.
thinking
Yeah,
of the future. We never at the present,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so that part is also very important, If not,
yeah,
you'll be sidetracked, you'll be lost again, you're going in circle and circle again, So you think that you are doing you think you have sati, but actually you don't have sati. You're lost
yeah,
in
yeah,
thought, thinking of the future, thinking of the past. So you always have to bring back yourself, yourself to the present moment that you're doing this. You must enjoy what you're doing. Like in other words, if
right,
you're cooking,
right.
you enjoy your cooking. You're walking, you enjoy your walking. You're sitting, you enjoy your sitting. The kind of thing. So you always at the present moment. So
Yeah,
that
yeah,
is
yeah.
my cultivation to develop the sati sampajana lah,
Sati.
Brazil.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that is very helpful to me lah,
Mm,
Okay,
mm.
then yeah, so these are the pointers that Brother Teo always said, So when Brother Teo only said once, right, doesn't mean that after a class, we forget about it, But we
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
really need to keep doing it
yeah.
like 24
Until
hours,
it
like
become a
Brother
part
said.
of you. Become a
Yes,
part
yes,
of you. Yeah. Then it becomes something stable within you. That's
yes, yes,
why Dhamma need understanding. So you look at the teaching, like what you mentioned, you need to have a roadmap to show you how to develop it. So if you look at the whole teaching, because you bring up a point which is very good. The whole teaching is like the teachings, the essential Dhamma are everywhere. But the problem with cultivator of the Buddhist community is they cannot develop the clear understanding to link them all together. In fact, the whole teaching is so beautifully connected and linked. So if you look at all the specific teaching, why did the Buddha start off with sati, mindfulness, leading to heedfulness? Then the advice of the Buddha, they come from the right view. Then when I talk about meditation, we have the Noble Eightfold Path, heedfulness leading to that one. That one is fundamental. But then when it comes to actual cultivation, we also have the Noble Eightfold Path, understand? Then we also have the Avijja Sutta. Then we also have all the essential Dhamma in between to link them and connect them to support the practices, especially the 5 mental hindrance, the 5 spiritual faculty, the 5 daily contemplation, the 3 evil roots, and also the factors of enlightenment and all those things. So without clear understanding of all this, you cannot link the Dhamma. You cannot actually connect them. So a lot of people, I remember in the early days, you read through that Heart Sutta book. There was one section, I remember, Sister Chwee last time always asked about the Satipatthana Sutta. Why always start with at least an anagami if there is still a little bit of what they call self-conceit or mana present. Otherwise, you will realize arahantship. So that time, a lot of people don't understand because the Avijja Sutta was not there. But at that time, I already explained because the statement, after overcoming covetousness and grief, that time I already knew to overcome covetousness and grief, you must at least be a Sotapan or a Sakadagami. That's why that time I already knew. But later on, when I suddenly came upon the Avijja Sutta when I was asked to put up the website. Very funny, When that year, I think 2016 or 17, the beginning of 17, the website came up. But when I was doing that thing, I think it was end of 2016, suddenly that Avijja Sutta from nowhere, it just pop out now in the internet there. Then I was curious. I said, how come got such sutta? I never come across before. I never heard before. Then I click on the link. Then I saw the explanation. Actually, the commentary was very confusing. Very confusing. But the moment I read, I knew what the Avijja Sutta was. That's why I was able to summarize for you or put up the two cycle, the ignorance cycle and the enlightenment cycle. You don't believe me, you go and Google the Avijja Sutta. You find it very difficult to understand. And there are so many versions. Uh, but then I read through them, the various versions. Then I came to know all the versions, they fail to understand what the Buddha meant until I summarize it. When I summarize it, actually, I modify a lot of their words that are not accurate or appropriate. And then I put it into our website. So this website is already a clean up summary for people to develop the understanding. That's why I already knew at that time, before even I started come out to teach, that Kayamittaship is very important because maybe from my past or whatever. Then that thing Kayamittaship strike me when I was in the early day of the cultivation. That's why before I came out, I want to name my those who came and learned under me. We are a family of Kayamittas, means Dhamma friends. Then from there, I don't need to set out any Buddhist society or name or whatever. So it was there when I saw, then I realized, wow, it's so clearly explained why the Satipatthana Sutta is put there as step 8. If you have not cultivated step 6 and 7, you cannot cultivate step 8. And 6 and 7 need 4 and 5. Step 4 is what we call Yoniso Manasikara. Then step 5 is Sati Sampajana. So these two steps, like just now Poh Cheng explained, is very true. It's not easy to understand sati, not easy to understand heedfulness. You have to do it until the sati comes. That's why I always say you just do. Don't try to know. Don't try to speculate or what. Do until the sati comes. Then you will understand what sati is. And then When you listen attentively to my definition, sati is mindfulness or awareness before the knowing. And then the meaning becomes clear. Then you need the unique code to strengthen the understanding of what the true mind is, the silent mind is. And to know that we have two minds also is not really clearly spelled out or taught in the teaching. They have words, they mention, but nobody seems to be able to actually uh, teach it or develop the understanding of it, especially that true mind, the silent mind, the awareness nature. Hardly anybody understands. Yeah. They only have some words, but they cannot be specific about what that thing is. So coming back to what Sister Poh Cheng has actually brought out as a condition, the roadmap thing is very important. There are many pointers, essential Dhamma and roadmap for us to actually develop the cultivation. We can start with heedfulness, like what the Buddha said, Dhammapada was 21, 22, 23. Then from there, you develop the cultivation of the Noble Eightfold Path. And Noble Eightfold Path itself is a big field of cultivation. And from there, the Four Noble Truths, which is the summary, the essential teaching of the Buddha. From there, all the other teachings spin out. Then in between, he teach the Abhijja Sutta. All this is to help you understand. They are actually the same teaching, but put in various, like the Lotus Sutta mentioned. These are expedient devices, the initial teaching, or what we call skillful means to bring about understanding. But the problem with cultivator of the way is, especially the Buddhist community, they go and take all these essential Dhamma as individual teachings, and they try to specifically teach here and there, and they don't know how to link them. The ability to link is the skill, is the understanding. When you can link them all together, means you have the understanding. They never contradict each other. You realize the Dhammapada verses and the essential Dhamma, all the teaching, they never contradict each other. That's the wisdom of the Buddha, the uniqueness of the Buddhist teaching. And it's so beautiful. You can approach it from anywhere, but finally it will connect you back to the whole teaching. And the awakening is always the same. In fact, just now before we start the class, Chwee wanted to ask me this question quite a while ago. He said, but they always talk about the possibility of the collapse of the mundane mind. Uh, and he wants to know the process and how uh, uh, all this can happen. So I say it's in the transcript book. Uh, I mentioned about it in many places. The latest one was the last two Thursday class, where I mentioned that thing, the collapse of the Monday mind. But there is also one part, the last Thursday, how cessation of form and mind can happen, and the process of the enlightenment process means the path to Nibbana, the realization of that cessation. And how from that realization, if it's not time for Parinibbana yet, then how the form and mind can come out. And the coming out, that one, this latest Thursday class on which I think Chin Hao is trying to get Kanemita to do the transcript is very useful. That one will be added as an appendix to the transcript book for the earlier, the last two Thursday class transcript. Because the last one, the latest Thursday one, which is only 2 days ago, that one I explained very clearly about the whole Nibbanic realization. It means cessation of form and mind, how it can happen, how the pure awareness also gone, the four circle thing. Then how you return to the nature, the source, or what we call the Buddha nature, or whatever. There is a name that people try to name, but unless that form and mind go through and realize that cessation, you will never understand what that thing is, because when it's inside the cessation, you cannot describe, you cannot talk about it, because there is no word, nothing there. Even the pure awareness also gone. That thing just sits inside there. Then if it's not time for the being to pass through the this parinibbana, means no more coming back. Chwee, wait, I saw your hand sign there. Then that form and mind will come out again. But the process is very beautiful. I actually describe it. That's why that transcript will be very useful. We go to Chwee first. Chwee, you got anything? Yeah.
Hi, Brother Teo. Thanks so much for bringing out this thing about the
Yeah.
collapse of the
Monday mind.
mundane
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
Actually, when I asked that question, I actually wanted a revision, a very clear explanation, because I think I went into cessation for a very, very short while, and it
Yeah.
happened twice.
Yeah.
That's
So
the
that
reason why I
cessation
wanted.
is different from the collapse of the mundane mind. The
Yeah, but
cessation is a momentary cessation, or that cessation can be quite a while. But even at Arahant level, when they come out of that cessation, we are not supposed to parinibbana yet. The mundane mind is still there, understand? The mundane mind is the gross consciousness of our thinking mind, or we call it dependent originating condition arising mind. Where we, as a human being, we have our six senses, then external sense data, then we have the consciousness trapped inside. So all these, they are like causes and conditions for us to animate into a human being. So that one will trigger off the contact, which will trigger off the respective consciousness. That's why we can become conscious of what we see, what we hear, what we smell, what we taste, what we tactily feel and think. Then at the moment of consciousness, how the memory, the brain, the normal human being, they have their habitual tendency, their belief system, their conditioning, their fear, their phobia, whatever accumulated memory, they will stir their mind and they will input the content that trigger off the karmic process. That's why all this will happen. And this creates sankarasanya, the thinking, the mechanism of what they call the thought process. That's how creation come about. So from the pure awareness, the true mind, from zero, the source, come one, the pure awareness. Then the pure awareness create the thought, the five aggregate of form and mind. Then the five aggregate of form and mind, through thought, project into the phenomenal world of consciousness, like a film show. That's how from zero come one, one come infinity. Everything arises. And the Buddha knew, that's why in the Dhammapada verse 1 and 2, he said, our mind is a forerunner of all things. Mind is chief. That is your true mind, your pure mind. Then from there, he said, everything arises from the mind. That is the mundane mind. The mundane mind, when they arise, yeah, the Buddha under Dhammapada verse 1 and 2, he said, this mind is the forerunner of all things. This mind is chief. When mind arises, all things arise. So if we were to act, speak, and think with a heedless mind that has the evil roots of the greed, hatred, and delusion, then suffering will follow you. Just like the wheel that follow the hoof of the car. So all these are very clear. So this mundane mind, normal cultivator of the way, even up to Arahant, or even the initial stage of Bodhisattva cultivation, it cannot collapse on. It can go into cessation. The mundane mind realize itself and cease. Understand? But the collapse of the mundane mind that you asked, Chwee, that I asked you to read is different. That one, those who go the Bodhisattva way, after they can detect the gateway, then from there, the yin and yang energy external, they will melt inside and become pure energy. Once it becomes pure energy, it will go through the gateway, like some of our Kayamita also managed to do it already. Then what happened is that process inside there take a while. Take a while. For me, I remember it took me 9 months. 9 months. But I considered very fast already. It took me 9 months to develop all the understanding, the wisdom, and the transformation. Then my whole brain become transformed. My whole brain, I saw what happened here during that 9 months. Oh, a lot of things happened. Oh. Then that vibration inside me becomes so different, no? So pure, no? So full of wisdom, energy, the understanding becomes so. Then that one starts to actually trigger of the transformation of the brain. No? It starts to develop the non-grasping, the wisdom, the understanding. Then it like cannot hold on to thing one. No? Even you try to know, try to do anything, suffering is there one. See very clearly one. Oh. Then after that, I remember the brain there out there a lot of transformation. No? Then there is something like moving from the forehead here slowly down to my the front part here. I don't know what you call this. This part, the video can see. The video,
Cranium.
you
Cranium.
can see. No, my brain here, the forehead here.
Yeah.
There is something there moving on, no? Inside there, no? Moving. I remember that one take a while, no? A few weeks, no? Then during that time, my whole head, like I cannot go and do normal thing one. No. If well that time I came out to the consultant to test myself. I cannot read. No. When I read, I know if I try to read, the nature tell me, you want to suffer, you go and read. Because the moment of actually knowing is suffering, no, that very fine suffering. No. The moment of thinking also suffering, no, because you have the wisdom. Think also, I don't think also like that. Then you cannot think, no. Then it's not grasping, no. The whole thing become very funny, no. Then after a while, it's like the whole head there jam. I won't use the word jam. It's like you cannot become like a normal human being to go and learn things and all this because a lot of things you don't want to do already, right? Because of that very fine suffering. Then later on, I realized there is a movement from here, slowly happen inside there. Then suddenly one day, something drop off. No? The whole thing drop off. Then I felt clear now, the whole thing clear. Then like a layer of consciousness, my mundane mind, the whole layer of consciousness, like completely disappear. Then I suddenly, the nature shine for that I realize, how come like that? Like there is no more mind inside there. No? Because later on, after a while, then only I realized that mindfulness and wisdom energy is so fine until the mundane mind is too gross to withstand that vibration. That's why that transformation at the brain there, then that thing collapses. That's how I came to know the mundane mind can collapse. Yeah. That's why when I was in Surat Thani, Achan Buddha Dasa there, not Buddha Gosa, the Surat Thani on the Achan Buddha Dasa. He is very good. I believe he went through something similar, but he gave a different analogy. He told the disciple at that time, when I was there, I was listening to the Dhamma talk. At that time was before 89, I think 86 or 87. Then I remember he got a statue of the Kuan Yin, Avagalas, Avalas Kuan Yin, this Avalokiteshvara. He got there is a like a cloth, you call it wheel, Veil. He said when you become enlightened, he said later on, he said it's like the wheel drop off. The moment that wheel drop off, he said you understand everything. He called it the wheel of ignorance. I believe it's an analogy for the mundane mind. But later on, I asked the disciples say they never heard Ajahn describe anything to them. He said maybe it's just an analogy. Means they are not ready to understand him. That's why it was not mentioned. But so far, he is the only monk that I heard mention something about something drop off. And the rest I haven't until today. That's why the collapse of the mundane mind, only bodhisattva who go that way, that actually detect that gateway to the nature, can through the cultivation develop it until it collapses. When that one collapses, the Mahayana call it what? No? The Nibbana without residue. Means there is no more that mundane mind to create the outflow of thought. Understand? No? The outflow of thought. No more really. And they describe it in a manner which I think very few cultivators of the way understand. So there is the understanding behind. That's why they say the sainthood way, even up to Arahant, the Nibbana that they realize under the Mahayana teaching, please don't create controversial out of it. They say that one is still got outflow, but they also come to accept that Chwee, they also come to accept that the Arahant no more birth and death, cessation of the segmented birth and death, no more. But they say when they are still the Arahant, there is this outflow of thought. That is the mundane mind. The outflow of thought, they cannot stop because the mundane mind has not collapsed. Where they don't go to the nature. They don't go to the Bodhisattva way. That's why their cultivation is different. And they call that they have a few words which is quite controversial, I think. They call it various type of wisdom, superficial wisdom and ultimate wisdom, or what they call prajna para, perfection of that supreme final ultimate wisdom, or profound wisdom. Sorry, they use the word profound wisdom, and the other one is superficial wisdom to describe the Arahant stage, which is the sainthood way. And actually, you cannot blame them for saying that because the whole cultivation is so different. That's why the ultimate perfection of wisdom, the Bodhisattva way one, is so perfect and so thorough. Whereas the normal sainthood way up to arahantship is actually way, way behind. You cannot compare at all because the sainthood way is totally a different cultivation. And the sainthood way, like I used to share in the early days, during this asana, is relatively easy to realize. Relatively easy to realize. You only need to do the first three support of the four support of the awareness-based meditation. Okay, so now I go back to Chwee. Chwee, you got anything to add? Yeah.
Thank you so much, Brother Teo. That's exactly what I wanted to know because I'm still a kindergarten person, so to speak, you know. But
Good. Yeah.
having said that, with the practice and going back into the awareness and all that, and then understanding what Po Cheng said about that, you know, knowing, understanding the Advija Sutta and all
Sutta
those
is very
things,
important.
it's so important. But the point I'm trying to say is that even that little understanding made me want to go the Bodhisattva way. Because many years ago, when you first started it, Mi Feng and I was in your group. And I remember discussing this, you know, and she said, you know, I didn't take it. I said, yeah, when they came and they started doing this chanting about taking the sutta, I was silent because I don't think it's the right thing for me. But now, understanding even this little one, few little bits of so-called gross cessation.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah. It's
enough to
already
tell us that, yeah, it's
very
enough.
different. It will transform you and
Yeah.
make you understand differently. Yeah.
So by the time I went to your retreat, in the Camerons, the recent one,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
you did that thing again,
yeah,
straight away I said,
yeah.
no, I
Without
must do
hesitation. Yeah,
this.
you just go in.
And just to tell you, what you have taught has already seen a lot of fruition. So I just want to,
Sadhu, sadhu. Very good. Very good.
and then
Yeah.
another
That's
thing I
why not only you, Chwee, a lot of Kavita told me after they take the Bodhisattva way, the follow the yellow color, they transform very fast, they understand very fast, and a lot of things just happen to them.
and and I realized that the distance between the Arahat way and the Bodhisattva way could be eons apart.
Yeah, eons apart. Yes,
Eons
correct.
apart. So
Yes,
well, that means, what the heck? If it's 3.5 eons and 2 eons, what's the
yeah,
difference? There's not
yeah.
much difference relative in that
Yeah,
sort of
yeah, yeah.
time
When
frame.
you understand,
So
actually, all this is the mundane mind creating an issue out of it only, that it takes so long. There is no such thing, one. When you hit the Bodhi mind development, the third stage of Bodhi mind development, when it can illuminate that nature, Bodhi mind that illuminate their nature as enlightenment, then you know what that awareness nature, that true nature inside there is all about. From there, it will move and transform into the fourth stage of Bodhi mind development. That Bodhi mind will understand that samsara is nothing. That's why the fourth stage is Bodhi mind that can renounce samsara. Means to the cultivator of the Bodhisattva way, samsara is nothing. They can renounce samsara. Samsara got no more meaning to them. They got no more fear because they by then understand that that nature is so beautiful. With that nature's understanding, you come, life, existence become wonderful, beautiful, meaningful. So what is samsara? To them, whether existent or non-existent, no different. With that understanding, you come, you become so beautiful. That's why they keep on coming. They got no hesitation, no more problem at all. So all this understanding will fall into place. Very good, James. Sadhu.
can I say one other thing
Can,
about,
can.
what you mentioned just now about
Yeah,
the
yeah,
thought,
yeah.
the mundane mind and the thought-based
Yeah,
meditation, going into that, and then it doesn't really, because you still have not let go when you are in that mundane mind,
right.
because
Because
the
the mundane
whole,
mind is the only what they call tool or instrument of mind that they understand. So they have been using that
yeah,
instrument.
and
So when you use that, it cannot lead to an understanding that is beyond thought, beyond mind. That's why that salutation to the Dhamma make it very clear. This Dhamma is akaliko, sanditiko, akaliko, then ehipasiko. So all these characteristics of the Dhamma that the Buddha described, the mundane mind cannot have the understanding of. Well, all the characteristics that is mentioned there is beyond the thought one. That's why it is something that needs to be realized. The mundane mind must realize itself and cease. And then the same way is through that cessation. Initially, first stage, second stage, a glimpse of it and now. Then when you reach Anagami and Arahant stage, they will go into the cessation longer. But when they come out, the mundane mind come back to them. Haven't collapsed it on.
yeah, yeah,
So, but when they hit Anagami, and especially Arahant, they no more avijja. They will not die with ignorance. The last thought moment at the moment of death, no more ignorance. That's why no rebirth consciousness condition samsara or birth and death. The samsaric process cease, no more. The cessation of the segmented form and mind. That rebirth, no more. But when they are arahant, before they die, they still have outflow. We have the thought, outflow of thought. Thought means what? the birth and death of every thought. At that birth and death is still there. That's why Mahayana is very precise. Means you haven't ceased the complete cessation. You have ceased the segmented birth and death, of future birth and death. But you haven't ceased the birth and death of the mundane mind, the thought process. That's why they are actually teaching it very clearly in that sense. But very few people understand. Even a lot of Mahayana practitioners, they don't understand what is the meaning of birth and death of thought. But that is the mundane mind. And the mundane mind can collapse. Hardly anybody know. I can tell you that process. Unless they are bodhisattva, great beings, who has gone through this way. Otherwise, they cannot understand. For that process to happen, it's not easy one. If I had not met my last guy who showed me where the gateway is, I will have to wait for at least 10 to 15 years to find out on my own. Despite what I was as a bodhisattva coming back and for so long. But because of my vow, that's why the last guy came and showed it to me. Then I saved at least 10 years or 15 years. That's why actually that saving helped me actually to transform faster so that I can share all this. Maybe that was the mission that I was supposed to do when Maitreya requested. But the thing is, you remember after 89, then 9 months later, my Monday might collapse. Actually, before that, before the 9 months, I already have the understanding to teach and to share. But I can't because there were no conditions, remember. I had to wait for 16 years later, 2004. Sorry, 15 years later, 2004. 89 to 2004. Until Yun Chan came. Before my nature arise and come out to share. Before that, cannot. So, to me, whether I find out myself or my last guy came because of my vow, and I had this saving of that 10 to 15 years. It's no different for you, understand? Because I came out 15 years later, understand? But for me, there's a lot of difference. Because that nature's collapse of the mundane mind transformation, that 15 years is very, very important. Because it costs a lot of things to happen inside that. That's why I told some of the Kayamita who had the ability to actually connect to that nature and start doing this transformation. I said that process is very long one. Even until today, 89 until now, 2023. Yeah. It's about 34 years all in. 34 years of that nature's transformation, I still haven't finished. There is still a lot more thing to do. But what I have experienced, my nature has control. That understanding is enough to teach a lot of people, maybe for a long time to come. Understand? That's why all this, there are causes and conditions behind. And because of my saving in that 10 to 15 years, when I started my sharing in 2004, my understanding was completely different from what is supposed to be. So because of what happened during 2004 onward, I find it so difficult to explain simple thing to cultivate all the way. A lot of Buddhists at that time, that's why after a while, I used to hint to them. I say, anybody who can understand 10% of what I teach is already very good. And that time you all cannot understand what I meant. Then I always tell the Kayamita later on at the retreat. I say, there are like the handful of leaf analogy by the Buddha. Do you remember? The handful of leaf are the essential Dhamma, the sainthood way and all those things. But the amount of understanding that the Bodhisattva, the Buddha, has gone through this way is like the leaves that is in the whole forest, including those on top of the branches and the ground. So that is the difference now. So that leaves that is in the whole forest compared to the handful, which are the essential Dhamma. These are the Bodhisattva way teaching, understand? The understanding of that nature inside there, how it transforms and how it becomes different, and how it creates the transformation of the physical body, especially the brain part, and the consciousness, the evolution of the consciousness, and how that awareness nature develop until so different. That's why in the Thursday class, I hinted the awareness nature. Now I start to teach that one beginning. The awareness nature, actually, there's a lot of things inside that. You can understand a lot of things, and as you understand, as you transform, your wisdom becomes so different again. Your perfection. That's why, as a cultivator of the way, you really want to really teach. You have to go the Bodhisattva way. Otherwise, you are limited in your ability to teach. You can teach basic essential Dhamma, but limited in many sense. That different people, when they come, their coming background all different. And how to actually understand people, how to understand all the various type of beings, karmic process, nature, and all those things, and how to guide them. It's not easy, that one. So all this need understanding and cultivation. Okay, so I think today there is a lot of beautiful condition for all this to arise. So we should thank actually Sister Ingrid for nominating Poh Cheng, and Poh Cheng for creating the condition, and Chwee for coming in. So nowadays the sharing has become so different. Yeah. So let us now rejoice. Because the alarm exactly 6 o'clock, we have to end. Let us rejoice. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, very good. So, Poh Cheng, you want to summarize?
Right, yeah.
Ah,
There's so much that you talk about this detection of the gateway, and then the collapse of the mundane mind, which is a very interesting topic for all Bodhisattvas that we are very keen to cultivate this. A lot of us already detected the gateway. So the next thing we have to cultivate is like, besides doing our daily mindfulness, we also need to cultivate the Noble Eightfold Path factors that Brother Teo emphasized, so that we can be a truly Arya, in every sense of the words, Okay, and then of course the other hallmark of Master Huining is the collapse of the mundane mind, no dwelling. So
that's why the three hallmark of Huining, actually, they will appear to you when your mundane mind collapse. Initially, the Sinhu way is the first hallmark, no thought. The Sinhu way, they will realize no thought, but a glimpse of it only, that short period only. And when they go into longer cessation, there is no thought involved. So that one is phase one, or we call it the first hallmark. But the second hallmark that need wisdom one is exactly what Poh Cheng described. You need to cultivate the Noble Eightfold Path. You need to strengthen, stabilize your daily mindfulness. Then your awareness nature within. Then keep on contemplating, reflecting. Then life itself is your greatest teacher. Then everything unfolds. And during that time, you will see very clearly, that the second hallmark of Huining, there is no mark of a self-cultivating, no mark of others, and no mark of Dhamma. That part is very difficult to understand. No mark of Dhamma, no mark of life, existence, everything within the conditioned world. All these are marks, and they exist within the conditioned world, duality, everything. Yeah. So you need to understand the conditional world Dhamma and the unconditioned Dhamma. So this no mark, when they clear, they break free, then the Bodhisattva actually advance to stage 2 and stage 3 of the Bodhi mind development. But to hit the third hallmark of healing, the mundane mind must collapse. The mind that has no dwelling, that one, the mundane mind must collapse. If your mundane mind don't collapse, you cannot understand the third hallmark of healing. The mind must have no dwelling. Because when the mundane mind collapses, really, there was nothing to actually dwell on. That whole nature shine for, and it's non-grasping one. It's like no mind inside there. But no mind, how can I function? Because that one is a supramundane mind. It's not a mundane mind anymore. It's a different type of mind from that nature, that pure awareness nature, that type of mind. That one shine for. That's why no need to practice awareness, no need to do anything. That nature shine for. You are the awareness itself. And 24 hours throughout the day, that nature is there with you. That's why that third hallmark of healing, the mundane mind must collapse to understand it. Otherwise, cultivator all the way cannot understand. That's why you think the 6 Patriarch Sutta easy to understand. The Platform Sutta. I tell you, not many people can teach the Sutta. And when they teach, they cannot go into the third hallmark of healing. They only recite to you, the mind must have no dwelling, and all the Dhamma words. But how it happened and the process, very few people can have that. Unless they are the Bodhisattva that take that way and they have developed beyond Bodhi mind development stage 3. They are moving into stage 4 to stage 5. Then they can understand. Before that, not easy. Not easy. Okay? So anything else? Otherwise, we have to end already.
Very dear. Let's end here. Mahasadhu to
Yeah,
Brother Teo
Mahasadhu.
for the
Good.
profound teaching.
Yeah,
Sadhu,
sadhu.
sadhu.
Let us rejoice.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay, now we will do the sharing of merits. Akasata cha bhumata deva naga mahitika punyam tang anumoditva chirang rakantu lokasasana Ittavata camehi sampadan punya sampadan sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya idang me nyatinang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo idang me nyatinang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo idang me nyatinang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo devo vasatu kalena sasa sampati hetu cha hito bhavatu loko cha raja bhavatu dhammiko imina punyang kamena mame bala samagamo satang samagamo hotu yawa nivana patiya sadhu sadhu sadhu. Okay, so now you all can mindfully pay respect to Sakyamuni Buddha, Kuan Yin Bodhisattva, and all the worthy ones. Then we end. Thank you. Sadhu.